I'm good. Downstairs.
Cool. Let you see how dope I look.
I know you always look really nice.
Okay, bye.
Alright, see you.
So now, this could also be a good place to start the interview if you would want. But I need to know categorically that there's nobody on your set who is like a sexual abuser,
Yes.
sexual harasser.
Yes, there's nobody. I'm really keen on such things, especially now. After everything, the Nick Mutuma and whatever, that story, it would be terrible if we had someone like that on set. So, no.
The whole thing cannot work.
Yes.
Cool.
I'm happy you say that.
That's my new first question of the day.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's like, entanglements, you know.
Yeah, I feel you.
Everybody has known everybody for such a long time.
Yeah.
It's easy to be like, oh yeah, it's whoever's thing. Yeah, definitely, I'll pull up for you. And then it's like,
So, something else I would ask is, in your own opinion, if someone is your friend, right? Do you give your friends a benefit of doubt?
Always.
If they say, because that's the essence of friendship, right? If it's your friend, it doesn't mean you support them, but you'll give them a benefit of doubt to explain. And then based on what they say, now you decide what happens. Yeah. Is that correct?
I don't know. I think it's, because if it's a family member.
Yes.
Even if, I don't know if the word is benefit of doubt. I think this is the thing. I think benefit of doubt supposes that the story being told is false. I think for me, if my friend was involved in such a scandal, I'd want to be a safe environment enough where we talk about this. Like, what is this about?
Yes.
No, like, no bullshit, no lies, and just speak.
But isn't that the benefit of doubt? Because if they're not your friends, would you even care to approach them about the situation?
I think you wouldn't approach a perfect stranger about the situation because it can definitely come off as like some very negative blah blah blah. But I think if you're a friend, it's it's part of friendship. I don't know if you can say the duty of friendship, but you definitely as a friend have to have real conversations with your people.
Yes.
So to ask, your friends, like, actually, if all crews this weekend are like, categorically ask on the WhatsApp group, is there anybody here
who has anything,
who has behaved in a way that is sexual harassment, sexual abuse? Are there abusers? Are there people? Are we like, what's the situation?
Yes.
Because it's just like now, we're in 2020 and only truth can set us free on every front, at every level. So at an interpersonal level, because we are all, we are all involved with one another. This is what I was saying to you, We've known each other, like Nairobi ni ndogo. Tunajuana, tumejuana, tunaendelea kujuana.
Yeah, it's a small space.
It's the space is, it's quite interconnected.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be very important that we start to have these conversations. And they're uncomfortable and they're painful and they're messy,
But they're necessary.
It's the only way.
They're very necessary. They are very necessary.
I don't see how else it can work.
And also, we have to talk about it because, again, silence is empowering abusers as well. Whether
it's also part, I think, of rape culture.
It is.
Silencing of people who say things.
Yeah.
I think the main thing, and also to understand that by the time people are coming to say this, because there's no other way, there's no other version of, say, justice. If somebody sexually harasses you, it takes a lot for you to have evidence. There's so many situations that is in that moment and time. Like, if you were to go to the police and be like, hey, show me prove to me the harassment. Yeah.
Where do you
so then now when you add in, the questions of, of power dynamics, who pays the checks, so when you put those things together, so
changes the dynamics. But I hear you, and
we have to talk about these things. And that's it.
I'm happy that's how you started, because I'm like, okay, it just rearranged everything else that I had in mind, but I'm happy you said it.
But we're in the vibes.
Yes, we are. And it's just a dope conversation to have as well. But okay, so back to what I had, and then because I know this was still going to come back at some point. You look so good. I already said that. You
have an
always
amazing
look
team.
so good. Is fashion and music the same process for you?
Ah, that's a really good question.
That guy. Mujipatia flowers kila siku.
Wow. Yo, Westie has changed.
Yo, it looks like a concrete jungle. No trees, nothing.
This is terrible. I don't know why we
Terrible.
think that this is development.
It's not. It's possible for urbanization to coexist with
Exactly.
nature. Very possible.
Yeah. And if you're not doing it in a way that that they cohabit and that actually produce mutual good,
Yeah.
you're doing it wrong.
For sure. They could have easily transplanted the trees.
Ugh.
Anyway, back to
Yeah.
you. We'll just get sad if
Yes,
we started
exactly.
talking about So is fashion and music the same process for you?
Is fashion and music the same process for me? Music. Music. First music. How did it happen? Just liking it.
Yeah.
Two things. Variety of the two things. I grew up like listening to a lot of music, different music.
It would be even actually just to make it even easier. It would be just even in the approach, how you approach music and how you approach fashion. Would you say it's the same process? If you think about it.
No.
Okay.
No. You know, it's quite interesting. Fashion, personal style, personality. For me, fashion, I would actually say, I didn't get into fashion until I had a very useful thought, maybe when I was like, maybe at the beginning of university, that if I have to wear clothes, my clothes should say something, my whole existence.
It's expression.
It's expression.
Gotcha.
Right? So even as a child, that's what I was looking for in the shoe with the little bow. I was looking for
Yes.
expression,
Yes.
for personality, right?
Character. Gotcha.
So for me, it's expression. It's a different version of expression from music. I understand music quite differently. I perceive it quite differently. I experience it quite differently from fashion. There's also a lightness with fashion that I guess you don't have I don't feel I have anymore with music.
Okay.
Which I'm trying to find again with music, because when music becomes like your job, you know what I mean? There's a part of it, it's like you love it always, but then there's at least...
It's now a job as well.
Yeah, and not even that. I don't know how. Yeah, probably, but that sounds really ungracious because I really fucking love music.
Yeah, you love it, but now it's actually a
love
job.
it.
So the dynamics change.
Yeah, the
Like, there's
dynamics
things
and the
you'd have-
seriousness with
Yes.
which you hold things,
Yes.
the consequences of your decisions. I mean,
Yes.
if you wear an ill-advised outfit, worst case is you'll just have like a day of looking quite not dope.
Yes.
But you know, it's not like an everlasting thing the way a song, when you put it out, it's there.
It's there forever, unless-
It's like,
yeah.
you know, if it does its job, it's really transformative. If it doesn't do its job, it's still out there in the world. And, you know,
My
maybe you
failure.
just need to give it
Yeah.
time. Westlands is a concrete jungle.
It
bro.
is. And then potholes is the norm. So many
Because they're
potholes.
building these things.
Yeah. I wonder what they're building.
They're building this like hotel
And whatever.
and residencies and more
Offices,
and just like
yeah.
some
Yeah,
shit that nobody actually fucking needs,
Yeah, Westlands
man.
is crazy. Westlands looks
But
crazy.
what's the point of that? Why weren't we built for an indoor stadium? Why can't we
There
do
you
that? An
go.
indoor
Or an
venue?
amphitheater.
That's what I'm saying.
You know,
a
things that-
space.
yes,
I think
a
that is
space.
actually fucking useful for the people who live and work here, instead of having wet dreams of I don't know then, I don't know what.
And I wonder how many Kenyans would be able to even afford office space there.
Nobody. They're just white elephants.
There you go.
Tragedy.
Anyway, let's
Back
so,
to the matter at hand.
complaining. But so the last time I had a conversation with you, like a proper conversation on camera, was in 2015. I don't know if you remember. You graced my show on radio. I used to be in KU. I don't know. You don't. I have the
2015
entire
or
conversation.
2016?
2015.
Okay.
I have the entire conversation with me. I'll insert some clips here. So it's Octopizo featuring Muthoni, the drama queen. We'll be finding out in a few. And shout out to everybody who's been coming through via our socials. We're discussing about religion, me and Tafari, in a few. But now Muthoni, the drama queen, is in the studio.
What's that?
So what happened to Jerry?
And so she loves music, but she didn't want to do music as a career. And there's a very big distinction between those two ideas. You can want to do music, maybe even take it as a serious hobby, but not want to progress it into like day-to-day thing.
Yes, but it was such a dope conversation. I was just listening to it back there. I didn't like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This was a fire conversation, but
Yeah.
it's Kitambo. It's been 5 years,
Yeah.
and a lot has changed ever since.
Yeah.
So today I would really like to speak to you on a number of issues, from showmanship to life generally, to music, to performances, and all that. And you're one of the musicians who's performed like even in global stages. You perform a lot in the UK. You've performed around here. So, do you think Hollywood is the standard for showmanship?
Hollywood as a standard of showmanship.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
showmanship, I'm really
understand
just.
that. What do you mean? What
Let
are
me
you
break it
querying
down.
there?
Showmanship, especially looking at performances, stage performances. It could be live or not, but the presence on stage, whatever is happening on stage, from the costumes to the dancers to the lighting to how the stage is set up. So I'm just talking about stage performances. So, because now you're an artist, that is now showmanship. Like when you get to share it live with people. Is Hollywood the standard? Because I see the Coachellas, I see Beyonce all the time. Like Maju, even award shows. You're
you
always
mean
like, oh
Hollywood
shit,
as in-
I can't
as in
wait
Maju?
for. Yeah, no, like
Actually,
Maju,
the
but mainly
Hollywood infrastructure.
The Hollywood infrastructure, the Hollywood machine. Is that the standard for showmanship? Like right now?
The standard? No. I mean, first, what do you mean by standard? I'm trying to understand your questions.
Standard basically means like, okay,
Do
these
you
are
think
the
it's
guys.
the standard?
No, I want you to answer that. That's why I'm asking the questions. My answer could influence what you say.
Absolutely.
And I'm only asking this because you have a
me,
wide experience.
spectrum.
Yes, spectrum is the word.
For me, I think the word standard is misleading.
It is very misleading. I
Because
literally
I
used
feel
it
like
very intentionally.
There's a trap that you could be dragged into to talk about, trying to compare yourself versus something else. I think what are more useful ideas is to think about what makes a show great, right?
Okay.
And so for me, it's like a clear artistic concept that is demonstrated in the choice of costumes, the set design, the supporting props,
Yes.
do you have flags? Are you going to use a screen? What is the interplay of the screen and lighting? Lighting itself as a language. Choreography, which doesn't necessarily mean, dancing. I mean like just body movement.
Yeah.
The use of the voice, relief, do we go on an emotional spectrum?
Yes. Yes.
This is the way that it is useful to think about showmanship.
Okay.
And of course, the music actually good,
Yes.
right? And is the artist convincing? Are they physically capable of delivering the emotion
Yes.
of the song? Are you going to take people somewhere? Are people going to leave there feeling something?
Yeah.
Which is what people are looking for in a show.
Why do you think we don't have, and I'm just gonna bring this home, why do you think we don't have like a lot of those epic performances locally?
Access
Is it a
to
money thing?
everything. Access to everything. For you to practice that kind of a show, you need a physical space where you can do it, right? If you're gonna learn lighting, you're going to need to be in an environment where there's a lighting rig, so
Yes.
that the lighting guy or girl for that matter,
Yes.
can play with the lights and can understand the language of this thing and the placement of the lighting and all that stuff.
Yes.
And a lot of that stuff, we just have a really underdeveloped infrastructure to support creativity and artistry here in Kenya, in East Africa, in Africa. So a lot of artists just don't have access to those things and those skill sets.
Yes.
Some of it is a money thing, some of it is
Just the
an
resources
actual
being available,
place.
yeah.
Some of it is like the skill set. Okay, so I have something of it, but do I know? So there's some things that can be fixed easily with more creativity. I feel like that's the thing I would say to showmanship here in Kenya.
Resources.
That we can think differently about the resources that we have. We can utilize our minds in a different way. We can reimagine things, right? And we can work with other people with skills. So you are a musician and you have a friend who is a set designer. And you have a friend who is a costumer. And you have friends with someone who does like some visual something like
Yes.
likes playing with like a video and stuff and things,
Yeah.
right? So I think those are the things that you can immediately do and utilize what you have with where you are to make the thing become better. There's also no, can I say, shortcut for the part of just like being with the musicians that you are with on stage and just like learning the music back to back and just getting physically ready for it, you know. I think it's a combination of looking at it differently, utilizing the resources in your network differently, and imagining things. You also have to watch things a lot. You have to watch things for you to have concepts of things. And I don't think, I mean, it's useful, watch a lot of everything. You can also watch a lot of one thing. The danger in watching a lot of one thing, I think, is starting to imagine that that's the only way.
That's
so
the
if you're
only
only
way.
watching a Beyonce show and you've never watched, you know...
You've never watched Femi?
Yeah, I mean, Beyonce and Femi, I would say in the sense of having many performers on stage, but like Femi's were many instrumentalists, hers are many, you know, performers, but his were instrumentalists and dancers like her. So you'd even watching those two perspectives already gives you a different way of seeing it. But like also if you watch an artist who just plays on their guitar, you know, like, I don't know, Ed Sheeran. For example, right, on his guitar.
Huge stadium.
That will give you another way of seeing things, seeing people doing something small and cool now, you know, with limited spaces during this corona pandemic period, to give you the idea of just like sets and presentation of material.
So we are in Westlands. We are in Westlands at Eliamin's, right? And Muthoni and I are going to get tattoos. Woo! But right before we go to get tattoos, I have a challenge for you.
Oh wow!
So one, I think the women musicians in Kenya are killing it. Killing it.
Tell me, for example.
Killing it. So my challenge is, I need you. We're going to do this back to back. I'm gonna drop a name until someone messes it up. Of the people you think are killing it, so I'm gonna start. Muthoni Drummer Queen. Don't mess it. Okay. Muthoni Drummer Queen.
Xenia.
Karun.
Valerie.
Emma Cheruto.
Static.
Fenagitu.
Mayonde.
So,
keep going.
Wendy.
Zashari.
So.
Keep going. Brandy Maina. Keep going. Mandy Kabaya. Keep going. Diana Cods.
Okay.
Keep going. Silverstone Bars. Keep going. Emma Cheruto.
Yeah, we said Emma. Yeah, but keep going.
Did I say Emma already?
I did.
Yeah. Shit.
Anyway, shout out to all the beautiful women who are killing it. So, how many tattoos do you have?
How many what?
Tattoos do you have?
I have 2 tattoos.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Are you excited for today?
Yeah, I'm very excited.
This is my 19th.
What?
Yeah.
Hey.
Let's go! I'll come get the door for you.
My mom will kill me.
Karibu sana.
I think my mom will kill me.
Why? Can I help you? There you go. Why would your mom kill you?
I mean, she already knows I have 2.
Oh!
Hi.
Yes, sir. Wagwan.
This looks so good.
Karibu.
I did not expect it.
This is you? Then this is me. Karibu.
Karibu.
So this is Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Ben, meet Muthoni.
So.
This is Eliamin.
Oh my God.
Are you nervous? Don't worry.
Pain.
I'm sure that's why you have this. And a Savannah to help you. And some encouragement from me and Eli and Ben. Don't worry, we got you.
Ta-da.
So Muthoni had an interesting design. I don't know if the stencil is ready.
Yeah, I think it's ready.
The stencil is ready.
Yeah.
This is what I'm getting. It's a butterfly, but it's a skull.
Yeah.
Kwa manake?
Haina maana.
Ina maana. Why?
Butterfly. I think
Life and
butterflies.
death.
Yes, butterfly symbolizes freedom as well. You can fly anywhere, and then the skull is just life and death. So when we're alive, we have the freedom to fly anywhere and be whoever we want.
Dope.
Asante. So I'll get my stencil. So as they get the stencils ready, I was asking, are you like those people who are very sentimental about body ink? Why are you crying already?
Hey.
Don't worry, it's not going to be.
This
very
is
painful.
how, when I was turning 26, we decided to go bungee jumping.
Okay.
You see how on the day when we were talking, we were just in the vibes, and I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, tattoo. Then you're like, you know, just like that.
Bungee jumping.
Then now
bad
today,
idea.
when I've reached, I'm like, oh my God.
This is actually happening. And the way you were excited about the idea of getting tattoos.
I know, well, here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, I'm sentimental about
Whatever
ink.
you get on your
Yeah, I
body.
think it has to be something meaningful.
Okay.
You don't have to. If you want, you can just get for fun.
Yeah,
But,
canvas. Chora.
me personally, I really think it's, but I also think it's in keeping with being like Africans, you know, humans really, scarification, immortalizing things, an interpretation of the skin as a canvas. That's how I think of it generally. So I feel like the canvas is already good. If you're adding something, it should be something like, now if you just put a kebab dough,
It can't be just anything. I feel like it can't be just anything.
When you're like pick an age, then you're just in your kebab doya.
Yeah.
But maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To each his own.
To each their own, for sure. Taste and preference. Yeah. But I'm
Needles, bro.
okay. Have you seen your needles? Okay.
Check them out.
Yeah.
So I'm opening them, yeah? So, bro.
Do you think if you had something like this would make you better? Relax. There's one behind you. Let me grab it for you. No. Okay, here. Clear that donut.
Woo! And guess
And
what?
there's
It has
stress,
the effect.
There's the stress ball as well, the blue thing.
Okay, and the savannah.
And the savannah to get you going.
Your savannah is not open.
It is.
Is this a promotional product? Can I drink it, please?
Please drink it.
I'd like
Do you
to
know I
drink
got
some
it?
cider. I hope. Oh,
There you go.
I appreciate that.
Karibu sana. So, what part of tattooing do you dread the most? Because I was saying I like the lines, but the shading really gets to me.
So I don't do this often enough to have a favorite and
Okay.
least favorite part. I am currently just concentrating.
All the attention on the
You,
tattoo.
I'm like, so I'm just like,
Usijali,
a
I
tattoo
got
is a
you.
tattoo.
I got you.
God
I got you. But so we were just bigging up some of the ladies that we think are really killing it. And shout out to everyone else we didn't mention. All of you are wonderful. And but now I was just asking myself, when you look at the industry, like at the very top of the food chain, why do you think we don't have a lot of women there? Is it? I know we live in a patriarchal system, but is it a system thing?
That's a really good question. That's a question I've been asking myself a lot.
Okay.
Because there's really good, there's really good female artists and who've been doing it for like, a while. I guess, I don't have the simple answer to your question. I would say it has something to do with the access systems here and what kind of music is made and, how much time you can spend. I'm really concentrating.
I don't know.
No, but it's
You're
all
trying.
I'm good. I'm
Uko
good.
sawa?
Because we really had it. I think the structured support systems. I think for artists to get to the top, you need structured support systems. That's whether you are male or you are female, right? And I just think that there is far less structured support for female artists to ensure their continuity, their vision, their ownership, their leadership in their own music careers. I think that's why we don't have so many women at a certain level of music creation. I also think that there are glass ceilings that necessarily make things hard for women to sort of evolve or grow. I'm thinking about women who spent their music careers in the labels, and how the artistry, it just doesn't. It's kind of like once you become like the princess of, then that's kind of as far as we're pushing it, There could be a question of leadership. I don't think it's necessarily on the artist's part. I think it's more like the structure that is the leadership that is helping to run
By
these
leadership,
careers.
are you talking about like stakeholders and the quote-unquote gatekeepers?
No, I mean the leadership. So like if you're in a label, right, the leadership has to really get behind you and your vision and your life to make sure that like it keeps evolving into the highest and best version of itself. And I think that there's been this kind of glass ceiling. It's like once you're like the like the pop princess or whatever, that's kind of it. That was the end of the imagination of the support system around you. And then you start to play sort of that rigid role, and you can't sort of evolve out of that role. And for me now, like, a pop artist, a female pop artist, I really think about that a lot, right? Like, how do I be an effective ancestor to the next generation of female artists? Yeah. How do they see a version of a female artist who's an artist her whole life, and every iteration is better than the previous iteration? It keeps getting bigger, it keeps getting fuller, it keeps getting flyer. The artistic integrity just increases. It's like the more it becomes, the more it becomes. So, the way we feel, say, about a Makeba, or how we feel about Beyonce, it keeps getting better the more the artist spends time in artistry. But again, those are real support systems for everything: financing, access, evolution of the creativity, expansion, fulfillment, full artistic fulfillment, not just there being told to like sing songs to impress like a teen audience, to chase a hit, to sing in a club. Come on,
But I'm like, are those the same reasons you are really trying? How are you handling it so far?
Well, I'm literally sweating.
Really?
Of pain and concentration. Oh, snap.
Okay, then I think let's have the conversation.
Let's keep going.
Let's keep going. Cool.
Let's keep going. I'm punking.
Would you're actually killing it. Would you say those are the same reasons why your music faced rejection when you were coming up, like a lot of rejection locally, or were those a sound issue?
I think a lot of it was a sound issue.
Okay.
Just the feeling that that was prevailing at that time is like, look, Kenyans are finally listening to Kenyan music, and the Kenyan music that they're listening to is this, homegrown variant of pop, So we're in Kapuka, and it's amazing. So if you come and you're not doing Kapuka, the feeling was, how can that music commercialize? Because it was critical that people not only make music, but it has commercial success. And so the producers in that time were trying to have commercial success, and not just trying over there to record babes, experimenting or pioneering a version of this your pop. So I think there was a bit of that. I think there was also a question of, but it has to sound very much like home, because we maybe spent many years trying to hear ourselves, and now
home you mean
Kenya.
the Kapuka,
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, Kenyans. For a long time, the music on the radio, There was a lot of Congolese music, a lot of Tanzanian music, a lot of Benga, of course, in all its variations depending on the ethnic tribe. But I think a youth voice and an urban sound, I think it crystallized when it started around Ted Josiah, Kalamashaka, and that whole crew that whole time, and then evolved into this thing called kapuka, another style of doing the music, and it was very emotive. So I think that people probably thought if you don't do kapuka, and they had just commercialized the success of it, shows, endorsements, pop culture. So there was a question of, if you're not doing this, what is that thing that you can do, and can it really commercialize? So then I think that this idea of can it commercialize, and not just can it commercialize like quite now, I want to be where everybody is right now. I think this thinking really derailed how far things could have gone. Because then it's like, this is the framework within which we are working.
Like this is what it has to look like. We have a benchmark that works, so if you're outside that benchmark, then we are not sure what to do with you. I had a conversation with Musyoka about the same, because I had when you said Musyoka asked you to make manyake songs for you to pop in the industry, and this is what he had to say.
For the record, I never told Muthoni to make manyake. It was a metaphor to mean a big song. A Kenyan hit song. You cannot do 5 manyakes all sounding the same. It was a metaphor
unless you're ethic.
I don't know how ethical that is.
So this is the thing that is really interesting. I don't think so. I don't think to pop I had to sound like Manyake. Chris Kage doesn't sound like Sailors.
He doesn't
sound like
and he's popping. But
everybody's popping. Everybody pops on their own terms. The point is hot music, good music, well-written music, well-composed music, a full artistic idea, right? That's why Adele can have a #1, and also, a trap song can have a #1. It's not about the genre. It's the elements of the song. And I feel like that's a really important thing to think about, because it's so limiting when you now, if you're only thinking like, I need to be a gengeton artist. No, you don't need to be a gengeton artist.
There's space for everybody.
There's space for everything. If you want to be a gengeton artist, you should ask yourself, what are you contributing? How are you pushing this sound? How are you making it more distinct? How does it have more personality? What is the perspective that you are bringing in the song writing?
Yes.
That is interesting. Who is not represented? Which voice can you carry? This, I think, is what makes an interesting music industry, when there's like a lot of different everything for everybody, because the thing has to be all-inclusive. If you don't include everybody, then it goes nowhere. Or you have a thing that now, say, reggaeton, it becomes the overwhelming way that the music from that region is understood. So all the variants that could have made the scene interesting and pop, all those variants just get written off for this, unless it sounds like reggaeton, then it can't work if you're from that area. Or if you look, say, I think I've made my points.
But I'm even the thing you're talking about, inclusivity and just allowing every artist to present their real authentic work, because there's space for everybody. I'm just wondering, that kind of exclusion, what does that do even mentally to an artist, especially someone on the come up? Like even during a time when you're not getting airplay and you have this fire music, guys are giving you good feedback about the music, but it's nowhere, it's just feedback, but no one is really supporting. For someone who's really on the come up, and this is the thing I really want to do, what does that do to someone psychologically? Like, what was going through your mind?
It's frustrating. It's frustrating because at some point you're like, is it me? Is it me who is the crazy one?
Is it a me problem?
Is this a me thing? Should I be listening? But you're like, but what do you mean? The thing that, and I think in my case especially, the thing that I was being asked to use as a yardstick of something, dope, I didn't think was that dope, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't convinced that that idea would be better than the idea that I was pursuing. Now, it didn't mean that my idea was amazing either. It just meant that my idea was my idea. And I think with artistry, great artists are nurtured. And I really think when the artist, when you just keep hearing sort of like rejection, you start to think that maybe I don't belong here, maybe my voice doesn't belong here, maybe I have nothing to contribute here, maybe my story isn't worthy here. Ooh, that looks nice.
You've handled it so well, by the way. You didn't even, you've not even gone to the drinks. You've just handled it so well.
Speaking of drinks.
But I'm like, congrats to you, 13 years later, here you are. So, you know, you were relentless, you kept pushing.
Yeah.
And just specifically still on the music, who are you speaking to in your song, The Kenyan Message? Who do you want to hear that song, and what do you exactly want them to comprehend from that song?
Kenyans.
What do you want them to pick from that song?
To be quite honest, I feel like I was just also being a Kenyan by doing that. What Kenyans really like to do is to have outrage. We are always outraged. We are complaining, even as we're complaining.
In the car, it took us so long.
We are always
complaining about everything.
Yeah, it's never good, and it's true, it isn't. But so we just
tweet about it, and then that's it.
We just complain.
There's no follow-up. There's no real action.
There's no real follow-through on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say there's no real, because that's very, in fact, I take that statement back. There is follow-through, but the follow-through has not hit a critical mass yet, right?
What follow-through exactly are you talking
people,
about?
when you think about like community-based organizations, social justice centers in different communities, resident associations that, you know what's up and like take on establishments, and people do know what's up, and I think that there's the groupings and there's the effort. But also, you know, these sort of systems they need a lot of support, you know. So I think it's a time thing, actually.
Okay.
Quite often, this is how I feel about Kenya. Or this is what helps me not despair in its totality. That there is a thing that only happens as a result of, you know, time. A generation that sees itself differently. That only happens as a result of time, you know.
Interesting, because one thing that I have picked from your music and from just following you on social media over the years is that you've always been very vocal about politics and policies.
Everything. I'm vocal about everything that I care about.
But specifically in line to in line, hear me out, Muthoni. In line to the Kenyan Message, which is still the discussion we were having, have you just always been politically conscious?
All Kenyans are politically conscious. There's no Kenyan who's not politically conscious. That's
I don't think so.
That's
I know people who I know people who don't care.
Okay.
They're like,
they don't care about what?
They are quote unquote too cool for politics.
No, they care. They care. They don't care about being involved in the day-to-day of it. It's easier to not have to think about it. It's easier to bury your head in the sand and just to try and like do whatever you can do. I don't think, okay, fine. Let me not be a dictator. I guess there may be some people who don't care.
Because even just fundamentally.
But I care. And I think a lot of people in our generation, in my generation care. I think a lot of people in their 30s care. Because, you know, we kind of grew listening to the politics. We grew up, you know, under when President Moi, the late, was the president of Kenya. And so, you know, there was a lot of public discourse all the time in homes, at parties, at weddings, funerals, you know, as democracy was coming in, you know, the repeal of Section 2A of the Constitution. So I grew up listening to adults talking about these things, and then we also went through Saba, you know, coming from school and like, you know, the school bus and, you know, it's stoned. You can't not have. I think that's my personal view. If you were born like kutoka hapo like 1985 hapo kipanda juu.
It's different.
Actually, even till like 1989 hapo. You can't say that you don't have a perspective of politics of Kenya. It's affected everything. We saw our parents being retrenched when Kenya did structural adjustment programs as a result of IMF. So I don't feel that I'm talking about politics, and I think that this is a thing I hate that is often misunderstood. I'm not here talking about politics. I'm talking about society. It so happens in your society called Kenya, politics rules everything.
It is every fundamental bit of life.
Therefore, it is impossible to make a commentary on Kenya and not make a commentary on the politics and the administration and the leadership. And the invention of this goddamn colonial idea called Kenya, you know, and the neo-colonial state that we live in. You cannot not mention those things. At the same time, we can also talk about, you know, partying, how Nairobi, you know, the things of Nairobi, all the other things that are then concerned with here, love and hustling and all the other stuff. The difference, I would imagine, is because I included it in the music and a lot of artists don't. So it seems like I'm doing something so like radical and no, bro, like.
But don't you think, because end of the day, your responsibility, that is partly your responsibility because of the influence that you have, right? But when we don't see a lot of that from the other musicians, then of course the general assumption is they don't care, because we don't see it from them. They have brands to protect. You know, they have an image and brands to protect. When someone is ignorant of the basics of how the law works and how bills are made and how we can make real changes, then how do I say you care just because you have a phone and you have internet and you can tweet about it? But you're really ignorant of even how the system works. So are you just tweeting about it because everyone is tweeting about Nigeria and SI? Do you just want to look cool and supportive, or you really care? Especially in this age of social media, when you can't really tell what's real and what's fake by just looking at someone's social media, you know. But now when you go that extra mile, then I'm like, oh, she actually does care. And it's consistent all through. It's not just a one-time thing.
Absolutely.
So that's what I mean by, I feel like people don't just care.
Got you.
Yeah, because it's just online. Oh, I'll tweet about it. Cool. Kudos. I'll wait for the next thing to happen tomorrow. Oh, Mahindi may be, oh, let's tweet about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, so
Kenya.
Kenya again. We're back to Kenya. So let's talk about something else before we get mad about Kenya. Let's talk. I want to talk to you about festivals because you have a wide experience. 12 years of doing blankets and wine. Please take me through the process of flying in. Okay. As you take in the pain. So I'm curious. Take me through the process of flying in an artist from wherever to come perform in Kenya. Because I'm sure there is legalities and things that need to be done, yes.
Absolutely. Okay.
Sip
looks
some.
Good though.
Sip some.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely do with some definition in there, right? Woo! Okay.
Cheers.
We're actually doing this.
We are.
So, first you have to do the booking right.
Yes.
You talk to the right booking agent. So, either the artist is represented by a booking agency
Or management.
or has a personal or a booker as part of their management team.
Okay.
You must agree contractually on your fees, on how many payments you make of your fees, on the dates that those payments will be made, the banking account details, okay? Then you must think about their logistics, so how many flights, but these are stuff that you think about when you're negotiating the contract. Where are you coming from? Where are you going back to? How many is your travel party? Nationalities of passports, so some people need visas, some people don't need visas. Where you're coming from, some people might need some additional health certification. So that has to be thought through. Then you have to apply for a special permit.
Work permit.
Yes, so it's a special permit that you apply. You apply.
Sorry. Cheers. Uko sawa?
So you hand in the details of the artists, their passports, the biodata page of
Yes.
the passport. You write the reason why you're inviting them, where your gig will be, when your gig is going to be. You pass that through PPMC, then it goes to the immigration office. Then it's cleared, okay? You're not trying to bring in some, I don't know, weird people. Then you pay your special pass fees. It's 25,000 per special pass, okay?
For the entire period the artist will be here?
Yes, so that's
Okay.
a 1 month special pass.
Okay, 1 month.
1 month.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Then now you know that your artist is coming. When you have your papers, so those are the papers that they will also use when they're coming in, so you're not sneaking people illegally into the country. Then you can now hire there are some professional services that can be used to clear VIPs. As you can imagine, VIPs are not only presidents, it could be like heads of corporations, it could be like special dignitaries, it could be special interest people, special ambassadors, like to the UN, etc. So there are companies that can do this kind of service.
Clearances.
So their job is to make sure that they get your artist from the airport, that their luggage is checked in, their passports are stamped, that they get into, into their motorcade, that thing is very clean and clear. If you need a VIP room, because maybe they have a large travel party and you need bags to be cleared, so you do all of that stuff. Obviously, before that, you had thought of their hotel.
Yeah, accommodation.
Their accommodation.
Food, drinks,
Their
the
local
hospitality rider and all that,
transport,
yeah.
Right, the local transport from the airport to the hotel. The artist minder, so the people who stay with the artist for the duration of their stay here, just to make sure that the artist has a direct line of help. Changing their per diems into local currency, you should have already done that in advance.
So do you book, is there a standard like currency you book the artist in, say USD, because it's universal?
It's a standard booking fee.
So what would happen if I booked them in Kenyan shillings? So now I have to factor in the difference in rates,
can never book
in conversions.
It's impossible.
It's
If
impossible.
that's just going to be impossible. Artists
Okay.
have to be paid in standard currency.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes everything easier.
Yeah.
Okay. So I read somewhere, saw somewhere, basically I'm not making this up, I'm sure I saw it somewhere. So you had Capital FM sponsoring your first Blankets and Wine.
Yeah.
And then a relationship blossoms after that, so you work with them for some time. Then I heard they wanted to buy in over blankets, and then there was a disagreement. Is that, can you confirm that?
No,
is
it's
it
not
true?
about confirming
And then
it.
that's how Koroga came about.
No. I feel like in that where you saw this conversation on another interview on CTA, I feel like
I actually haven't watched that.
Okay.
I wanted to watch it after because I
Yeah,
didn't
I
want
feel
it
like
to affect.
I addressed it in full and its totality, and if you would be okay, I would rather I have nothing new to add to that topic, and I actually think it's quite distracting of all the efforts of all the people who work very hard at all organizations involved to do their thing. So live and let live. For fuller details, go and watch my other interview on another platform.
I'll plug it. I'll try plug it
That
in
would be
because
really
there's an explanation on the same.
Yeah.
But
It's a well thought explanation.
Okay. I mean, because you are. Oh, are you guys done?
No, he wants to ask me about the shading.
Ah, got you. So still on the issue of partnerships, because we're talking about Capital and Blankets.
Yeah.
Do you think in
Shading.
there you go. Don't worry, you can do this. Do you think those kind of partnerships, like those media partnerships, are they still very paramount for event organizers in 2020?
I think what you are doing determines the scale of how you want it advertised.
Okay.
And so I think my simple answer is that there is no simple answer to your question.
Yeah.
It really depends on what your event is, and therefore what is how I think you just want to think about how do you amplify your story to your audience, okay, based on what it is that you are doing.
Let me paraphrase that. Is digital or social media enough in 2020 for a promoter?
I want to say that it really does depend on exactly what you are doing and for who you are doing it for.
Sure.
Right? That's the answer. I mean, of course, social and digital is very accessible because, just a number of people with handsets, a number of people who have connectivity. Their amplification power, it can be like how many WhatsApp groups which are like real human beings who are likely to see your message. So I think it's definitely brought something to the fore. I also think that, let's say you are doing something like a big charity concert. It would be a bit limiting to not think about doing a good media broadcast partnership, you know. I think that also in a place like Kenya, if you were doing a gig like now that had like everybody, I don't know, a food drive, Kenya, whatever, it would be absurd not to put it on a place where all Kenyans can get, which would be free to air TV. So again,
it depends on.
It really depends on what you are doing,
what the product is,
yeah,
and who the audience is.
And I think that that's a really important thing, you know, just to say, you know, there are no one size fits all answers. And I think that that's a thing that a lot of people who try to do event production miss. You can only learn from somebody. It's not to say that their solution is your solution. The scale of what you're doing, the audience for whom you're doing it, the variables of the thing that you are doing, the venue that you have, the partners that you can afford, I mean the suppliers and the vendors that you can afford. Nobody has the same circumstances, but you can observe similar principles. Work within your budget, think about your project, challenge your assumptions, justify your decisions, your financial decisions, justify them. Hope is not a strategy.
It's only a strategy in churches.
Hope is not a strategy, not even in a church. Even in church, hope is not a strategy.
Nyash says, wow, how can I forget that line? But from the new album, it's a line, let me quote. It basically talks about the pastor remains with the money, and then the congregation goes home with hope. So I understand what you mean by hope is not a strategy. But I wanna talk to you about just a life lesson, borrowing from an example, still in the line of events, blankets and wine. And the life lesson I want to talk to you about is something called feedback. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but you're smiling already. So am I still a fake friend? Am I we are good now?
No, I'm good. But I don't know if you're going to try and bring up things that happened before the pandemic. I advise you to change your...
Corona has really changed everything.
I advise you to change your question because...
Yeah, but I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay.
I'm going somewhere with this. I'm going somewhere with this.
Woo!
So, you like it?
Looks good.
Wait, are you guys done?
Almost.
Almost. Okay, highlights and all.
Okay.
So the thing about feedback is where I'm headed to that is it's about the tweet from Frankie on the last blankets, and
so you should ask Frankie.
no, but you responded to it and you're here. I don't have Frankie here, so I'll ask you. Have you had a conversation with him since?
No.
You haven't?
No.
So where I'm going with this is the thing where we have a lot of corporations and individuals who are doing something called paying creatives by exposure. So you remember when the whole thing about Art Cafe went down?
Yeah.
And their response to that, they corrected that and they were appreciative that guys were able to speak about it.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a bad thing to pay artists by exposure in all instances? Like, is exposure a real thing? Has it worked for you in any way?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think actually when you pay somebody in exposure, you have to be much more intentional than when you're paying them with money. You have to really think about how to set them up for the right audience, for the right storytelling, for the people that they need in the room, for that thing that they are doing to be heard, to be achieved at its best.
So it has to be super
intentional. You have to invest so much more for somebody to take, an exposure opportunity. The room has to be right for that person at that moment in their career. And I mean it across the board, whatever that could be. The thing has to have there has to be something that they get, it could be a skill set that they're able to access. There are moments when if you get exposure, it can change the game. But the moment has to be set up so entirely correctly, right? So if you get asked to play for free at the Grammys or at the MTV Awards, for example, or something like that, right? A moment where there's a consideration of your peers, of a focused attention of a music audience, your ability to convert that moment for your future use, the people that you need in the room, then of course you would do that, opportunity. That's an opportunity and not being used. Because quite often this thing about exposure is you want to benefit. The person who is benefiting from your labor them they benefit fully from your
Completely,
labor
yeah.
and from whatever your brand brings to the table or your expertise or your experience. But you don't get a commensurate value back.
When did exposure work for you?
You don't get paid to be a TED fellow.
Got you. But the
I'm a TED
connects.
fellow.
But the connects.
I mean,
and
the
the people you meet there.
inner circle of like.
And I actually like your speech on TED Talks.
It's
I think
a
that
talk.
was,
It's not a
talk.
speech.
Okay. Corrected.
You're welcome.
Miss Grammar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was really
I like
dope
my
in just
tattoo.
the power of.
Thank
Oh, you guys are done?
As guys are done.
Oh, okay, cool. Lastly,
These are what I think that maybe we should have just like added more relief because
Add
it looks
more.
like fangs. Look
add
at
some.
That.
We're almost
It
there.
just looks like fangs. You're right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. That's a bit shady. Or like teeth.
Oh, wow, okay. So we have some few things to add as we finish ours as well.
Yeah. Okay, Chaxy.
All right, cool. So you guys have figured out what you're adding?
We're adding, yeah.
Ah, okay, perfect. So lastly, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine,
Yeah.
specifically about you and your career and your music.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, specifically your career and your music.
So
And
let me finish with Chaxy and then we'll figure it out.
and then you figure it out. So specifically your career and your music and something called impact in the game now.
Yeah.
Do you think you are able to drive more impact into the game by being at the forefront or by being at the back end, like at this stage in your career?
Now I'm playing the whole field.
I like that. I didn't say that coming. So is this...
I'm playing for the whole chain. I'm playing for the whole chain. Everything.
So how strategic was the
Back
Perform
end,
Music
front end.
Incubator? How strategic was that program for you?
That's really deep for me. I feel like that's purpose work, right? To make it possible for somebody to get where they're going faster,
Yeah.
smarter, easier, to really pass it forward, all the grace and all the opportunities that, you know, friends and strangers have gifted to me over my journey. So for me, I think it's just doing that. The other thing is obviously just developing the actual skill set of the industry. You can't have an industry without professionals, period. So then now we just have to figure out, you know, how to build professionals. So you're going to have to build the professionals here. So that's what Perform Music Incubator is across the board. As songwriters, sound engineers, light engineers, musicians,
The whole spectrum.
managers, music business professionals, PR managers. We just have to develop out a system. So for me, it's strategic to the extent that it fits in, you know, with wanting to serve the whole value chain. You have to solve at a skill level. You have to solve at a market level, which is what the festivals do for artists, access to markets. And you have to solve at the creative level, which is another project that I'm currently hatching.
Nice.
And that
For
I hope
next
will
year?
come and
Soon?
yeah, it's within this pandemic we're starting. I think we will start in November,
Nice.
so that we can solve at creative, solve at a market intervention, and solve at a skill level.
Nice. So I really wanted to dedicate this episode to someone that I know you know,
Okay.
Andre, and just say, you know, rest easy, bro.
Yeah.
So this is for Andre, man. Cheers.
For Andre.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yo, you handled it so well, by the way. So we'll just finish and get the highlights done.
Yes.